Hello, welcome to Delta Trust TV. I'm your host, Wes Beavers. This week, we welcome Daphne Large and Julie Wink of DataFax Incorporated. Daphne is the president and CEO of DataFax, and she founded the company in 1989. She has over 30 years of credit reporting experience. She's also served as the board of directors for the National Credit Reporting Association. She also has attended the University of Memphis. In addition, in 2004, Daphne was named the Affiliate of the Year for the Memphis Mortgage Bankers Association. In 2006, Daphne was named one of the top 10 women in business by Memphis Woman's Magazine. Julie is the executive vice president of DataFax and also one of the co-owners. She served in the credit industry for over 22 years. She served on the education committee for the National Credit Reporting Association and has served as the board of directors for the Tennessee Mortgage Bankers Association. She also attended the University of Memphis as well. Both Daphne and Julie have recently founded My Credit, My Future, a consumer education credit bureau. Welcome to Delta Trust TV.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you.
First of all, everybody's very concerned about credit scoring today. What is a credit score and how is it determined?
Wes, a credit score is a number that summarizes your credit risk so that the lender can properly evaluate that risk. It's a snapshot in time from a credit report. The most common credit score is derived from Fair Isaac Corporation, known as the FICO score, and that really looks at 5 areas.
I would say the 5 main ingredients with a credit score basically are your payment history, which is 35% of your score, the amounts owed, which is 30%, the length of credit history, which is about 15%, the new credit, which is about 10%, and the types of credit, which is about 10%.
Okay, well now, I do have a question. Here at Delta Trust, we pull credit scores on a daily basis, and I know that there are 3 national repositories. Why is it that the credit scores are different from one repository to the next?
Well, the way to answer that really is 2 ways. First of all, while your credit files may be very, very similar, it's likely that they're not absolutely identical. There could be a trade line that hasn't been updated as recently. There could be inquiries on one repository that's not on the other. Anything like that could have a slight variation. And the other reason is that when consumers purchase their scores themselves, they're not purchasing a FICO score. They're purchasing a proprietary score normally from one of the repositories, so that would also give you a variance.
I would say too, one of the biggest things to remember a lot of times too is that the lenders are not reporting the information to the bureaus at the exact same time. So it could be that one bureau has a little bit more up-to-date information than another, and that's why sometimes you will see a slight difference, and maybe one score is a little higher than another bureau's score. Okay. Is they might have just a little bit more up-to-date information because all of that information is sent in on data tapes, and again, it might not be at the exact, they may not all do it at the exact same day of the month.
Well now, one of the things that has come about recently, and I've heard this, depending on where you shop, can actually have an effect on your credit score. Is this true?
Well, how that works, Wes, is that the FICO score is really looking for a good mix of different types of credit. They want to see a little bit of credit card, a little bit of installment loan, those types of things to give a good mix. So it's not so much where you shop, unless you're shopping at maybe still a very local type credit union or a very local retailer that may only report to 1 or 2 of the bureaus. So that would have maybe affect your score.
Okay. So if I shop at Neiman Marcus versus shopping at the local pawn shop where I may have some credit, it really doesn't affect my score?
Not so much. They're looking for really a mix of credit. Now, if you had all credit cards or all installment loans or all finance company loans, you would see a drop in your score versus a good mix.
Okay.
Well, and also keep in mind that not all creditors report to bureaus. Like your local pawn shop may have an account, but they may not necessarily be reporting that information to a bureau. And your scores are calculated from the information that is on your file at the bureau level.
Okay,
so,
at the national level.
Exactly.
Right.
So maybe a cell phone company, they necessarily do not report unless you have bad credit with them.
Right.
So those type things are not going to show up. But exactly right, they want to see the healthy mix of revolving installment, which would be like a mortgage loan or a car loan. that type thing, and then the mixture of how those accounts are used.
One of the questions that we get here all the time, being a mortgage company, we have people who come in and they say, I'm looking for a house, but I'm worried about you pulling my credit because I don't know if I'm going to do my mortgage loan with you. That's a big mistake. They should always do it with us.
Of course.
But if somebody is doing a mortgage loan and they're shopping for a mortgage and they visit several mortgage companies where they pull their credit report over a period of a couple of weeks, say, for example, or if somebody's maybe even they're looking for a car, they're car shopping and they visit various dealerships around town, a lot of times the dealership is pulling a credit report on them to determine how can they afford the car, can they do it, et cetera, et cetera. Does that affect their score? How does that work?
Fair Isaac has taken that into account in their algorithm and allowed rate shopping. So if you pulled their credit today at Delta Trust, it would look for the last 30 days, and any rate shopping that had happened in the last 30 days would not be counted against the consumer in the calculation of the credit score at all. Then it would look at the prior 30 days and offer a 14-day window, and anything in that window would only be counted as one inquiry. So you can rate shop for car loans, student loans, and mortgage loans without penalty to your credit score.
Okay, so it's really not hurting me to visit multiple lenders, multiple car dealerships, whatever it is that I happen to be shopping for.
As long as you're doing that within that certain time frame.
Okay, and what is that time frame again?
What they do is they give you any time prior to your credit being pulled, that 30 days prior does not count, and then once you start pulling, like if they came into Delta Trust today and you pulled, from here on out, you have between a 14 and 45 day span. Okay. All the bureaus have score versions, so the older versions are a 14-day span, the newer versions are a 45-day span. And so the multiple pulls, even if you have to pull it 2 or 3 times during that process, all of those are counting as one inquiry.
All right, so it's really not affecting them in
now,
a negative
inquiries
way.
affect your score, but no, the one inquiry is not going to affect your score in any manner that's going to hurt your score.
One of the things that we're seeing right now with recent events in the credit industry, with people's credit lines being cut, people who had, maybe they owe $1,500 on a credit card and they had a $6,000 limit, and now they have a $2,000 limit. Is that affecting their scores?
Absolutely, and quite a bit sometimes, because again, they're looking to see how maxed out how many cards you have available and how maxed out those are. So when your limit gets decreased from $6,000 to $3,000 and your balance is $2,000, you know, that's a big deal. And yes, right. that we've seen that very recently with scores. So the key to that is just paying more of that down.
If I want to find out what's going on my credit, how do I go about finding out what is on my credit? Do I go to a website? Do I call somebody? How do I get that information?
Well, thanks to the FACTA Act West, every consumer is entitled to one free credit report each year from each repository, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And it's very easy. You can go to annualcreditreport.com and get that online, or they will also handle that by phone or mail. And you only get that once a year. You can pull all 3 at once, or you can spread those out and keep an eye on your credit. It's every 4 months or so. Now keep in mind that when they get that, they're not getting the score. They can purchase a score, but typically it will not be the same score that the lender would use. That a
mortgage company would use on that. Now, if somebody is looking for your organization, My Credit, My Future, how do they reach that? If they are looking for help, how would they reach that?
They can go to www.mycreditmyfuture.net, and we're offering webinars, in-person speaking, counseling, working with the consumers, and the passion that Julie and I have over our, 50, I'm embarrassed to say it, years of experience. We've helped a lot of consumers. It's really our passion, especially in these economic times and the tightening of credit. We believe that consumers need to be armed with credible information, and if you can take charge of your credit and your financial well-being, you can take charge of your future.
I really want to thank both of you for coming out tonight and talking with us about this. Thank you again, Daphne Large and Julie Wink with DataFax Incorporated.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you for checking in with Delta Trust TV. Check back next week for our newest guest. Thanks for stopping in.